The sun was setting over the cracked pavements of Grey Hollow. Rusty, a scrawny dog with mangy fur and tired eyes, limped through the bustling market square. His ribs stuck out like the bars of an old cage, and his once shiny coat had turned into a patchwork of scabs and dirt. Vendors swatted at him with brooms when he got too close, and children pointed and laughed. Rusty stopped in front of a bakery, drawn by the warm smell of fresh bread. He sat on his haunches, his tail wagging hopefully, but the baker shouted, "Get lost, mutt!" A stale loaf hit the ground beside him. Rusty lowered his head, picked up the bread, and shuffled to an empty alley to eat. As he chewed, he noticed something fluttering in the wind, a piece of paper. The edges were torn, and the colors faded, but it showed a mansion surrounded by green hills. Beneath the picture were the words, "Anything is possible if you believe." Rusty didn't know what the words meant, but something about the image stirred something deep in his weary heart. He nudged the paper closer to him and curled up, letting it rest beneath his paw. That night, under a blanket of stars, Rusty closed his eyes and made a silent wish. He didn't know what he was asking for, he just knew he wanted more. The next morning, Rusty wandered back into the market square, carrying the crumpled paper in his mouth. People bustled around him, as always ignoring or shooing him away. But today, something different happened. "Hey, boy," called a kind voice. A young girl with braids knelt down, holding a piece of bread. Rusty hesitated, unsure if this was another cruel trick. But the girl's smile was warm, her hand outstretched. Slowly, he inched forward and took the bread from her hand. "Look at you," she said, scratching behind his good ear. "You're a mess, but you've got spirit." The girl noticed the paper in his mouth. She took it gently, studying it. "Dream big? You got dreams, huh?" Rusty barked softly, wagging his tail. For the first time in a long while, someone saw him, not as a pest, but as a living, feeling creature. The girl's father, a street preacher, approached. "Lila, come on. We're running late." Lila waved goodbye. "Hang in there, boy. Faith can move mountains, you know." Rusty watched them walk away, his tail wagging slightly. He didn't fully understand, but the words faith and dreams resonated. He decided to believe, whatever that meant. Inspired, Rusty began behaving differently. Instead of scavenging for scraps, he started helping where he could. When an old woman dropped her basket of vegetables, Rusty nudged the rolling carrots back to her. She smiled and gave him a small treat. When a merchant's young son cried because his ball rolled into a ditch, Rusty retrieved it, earning a pat on the head and a piece of dried meat. Day by day, Rusty's small acts of kindness didn't go unnoticed. People started recognizing him. "That's the dog who helped Mrs. Eliza," someone said. "That's the dog who found Timmy's ball," another added. Slowly, the market folk began treating him less like a nuisance and more like a friend. One stormy evening, as Rusty took shelter under a shop awning, he heard frantic shouts. "Help! Someone stop him!" A thief sprinted past, clutching a leather bag. Rusty sprang into action, chasing after the man despite his weak legs. Through puddles and dark alleys, Rusty barked relentlessly, drawing attention. Finally, cornered by the noise, the thief dropped the bag and fled. The bag belonged to Mr. Henshaw, a wealthy merchant. "Good boy," Henshaw said, kneeling to pet Rusty. "You saved me a fortune." He noticed the dog's scruffy condition and sighed. "You deserve better than this. Come with me." For the first time, Rusty slept on a warm bed in Henshaw's home. The next day, a vet treated his mange, and soon his patchy fur began to regrow. Henshaw, impressed by Rusty's intelligence and spirit, decided to keep him. Rusty quickly became a symbol of loyalty and determination. Henshaw started using Rusty as the mascot for his new shop, Faithful Goods. Customers loved the story of the stray who believed in something better and found it. Sales soared, and Henshaw made Rusty a central part of his business. Rusty, now healthy and well-fed, never forgot his roots. Whenever he saw another stray, he would nudge Henshaw until they helped. Over time, Rusty's fame grew beyond the town. People traveled to see him, inspired by the tale of the mangy dog who never gave up. Years later, Rusty sat on the porch of a beautiful house, not unlike the one in the picture he had found so long ago. He no longer needed to carry the crumpled paper. He lived the dream every day. But it wasn't the riches or the comfort that mattered most. Rusty had discovered something far greater: the power of faith, kindness, and believing in a better tomorrow. And through his journey, he taught an entire town to believe too. As the sun set over the hills, Rusty lay his head down, content. His story was proof that even the smallest, scrappiest soul could rise to greatness with a little faith and a lot of heart.